What is going on, guys? Welcome back to part 6 of the Build an Instagram app series. In this part, we're going to continue where we left off, basically building some UI, setting up more Firebase stuff, and getting closer to uploading our first image. If you haven't destroyed the like button already, make sure to do so. As always, hit subscribe, open up Xcode, and let's continue on. So like I mentioned in the last video, we went through all of our core tabs and set up stubbed out UI for the things we're going to need. Let's finish that off by going to our home view controller. And in here, we don't have any of that UI stubbed out. So let's talk about this to begin. So on our home tab here, depending on if we actually get to stories or not, we're going to want a horizontal scrollable collection view up here for our story circles. And we want a vertically scrollable thing for our actual feed. So for our feed, we are going to be leveraging a table view. Now you can also use a collection view, but we're going to stick with the table view. So let's create a table view in here. And we're going to say it's a basic table view. We're going to return said table view. And we're going to be registering rows in here or cells, but they're going to be custom. So we're not going to do them yet. Let's go ahead and add the table view, set its delegate and data source like so. Let's also give this a frame in viewDid layout subviews, and it's going to be the entirety of the screen like that. We're going to want to extend this controller and conform to the table view delegate and table view data source. And for the data source, we're going to say number of sections is going to be 0 for now. Number of rows is going to be 0 as well. And cell for row at index path is simply going to be, let's just simply return a UI table view cell since we're not implementing this yet. So that's basically the table view we're going to have here. And for each of the posts in the table view, we're going to want a custom cell. So let's come into our views folder here and let's create a folder called cells, since we're going to want a bunch of custom cells. And let's right click this in a new file. And we're gonna want a Cocoa touch class, and it's going to be a subview or a subclass of a UI table view cell. And I'm going to call this IG post table view cell. Let's call this IG feed post table view cell to be more explicit. No nib file needed, so you don't need to check that. Go ahead and create that in here. And you can actually delete all of this. And what you're going to want to do is override init with style and reuse identifier and simply call the super initializer for it, passing in those parameters. And let's quickly add a static identifier property on here. And this is how we're going to register the cell. And let me also make this final so nobody else can subclass it. Let's go register this cell in our home controllers table view. So we're going to say register this class for this identifier. And this is the identifier we just set right here. And now in the cell for row at index, what we can do is we can say let's cell equals, we can say let's cell equals table view DQ, the cell with this identifier for index path as that type of cell. We can simply return cell here. And on this class, we're going to basically be setting up how we're going to want to basically show each of the cells. Now, this table is going to be a little more complicated than what probably most of you guys have seen. Each section is going to be controlling a post, basically, and each section will have multiple kinds of cells. So we are going to have multiple cells that we'll create in a minute here, but basically every single cell that we have will have a configure with model function on it. So we can use our MVC design or MVVM, and we're going to configure the cell. So one thing we should do actually is we should say this is an IG feed post table view cell. we're gonna want cells for, so let me actually open up the Instagram feed so you guys can see it better. So Instagram, iPhone app feed. So if we go to Google Images here, and let's see if we can find a decent picture of what I'd like to show. So all of these, okay, let's see if this one works. So basically in this post, we're gonna have a section, and the section's gonna have one row for this post header here, which has the profile picture, title, and the 3 dots. And we're gonna have one cell in that section for the post itself. And then we're gonna have one cell for the action bar here, which is what I guess I'm calling it, with the buttons and this jazz. And then we're gonna have another cell, which is gonna render out another number of cells, which is gonna render out the number of likes and comments. So it'll get a little bit intricate and we'll talk about it as we go along. But that being said, if we go back to our home controller, if we hit Command B, we should be compiling. Let's see, what did I mess up? We need to add the required initializer here. So if you hit this and fix, it'll add it in for you. But we're gonna want more cells. So under cells, let's create a folder and we're gonna call this home feed. And let's start creating more cells in here. So we already have IG feed post. Let me expand this a little bit so we can see the whole thing. So like I mentioned over here, we're gonna want one for the header. So again, we're gonna say IG feed, let's call it post header, table view cell. Go ahead and create that and get rid of all this nonsense. And we're also gonna want one for the action bar. So let's create that as well. So we're gonna want to do new file, Cocoa Touch class, IG, what did I call it? IG feed post actions table view cell. And once again, let's delete all this template code that we're not going to use. And then below this, we're going to want more cells for, technically they're comment and like cells, but what we're going to say is we're going to give it a generic name. So we're going to say this is IG feed post general cell. And the general cell will be used for things like comments and also how many people have liked each post. So as you can see, the cells are going to start to get a little more tricky. So we're going to do these one by one, video by video. So that's it. What else do we want to accomplish in this video? So let's actually run it and make sure we're not crashing. That's kind of important. So cool, we're not crashing. Let's go ahead and set up some Firebase things. So we're going to want the user to be able to upload photos, of course, as well as videos. So we're going to want to go under develop and we want to go to storage. And in storage, we're going to configure this. So we're going to hit get started. And let's see. So service, Firebase storage. Basically, it's telling you you're going to create a bucket here. So we're going to basically continue by hitting next. And let's see, cloud storage location. This is going to be US Central. Looks good to me. Don't think we need to change anything here. So we're going to hit done. And give that a second. And over in our project, we're going to go to our resources. And if we remember from the first two videos, we created Storage Manager. So in here, we're going to basically add functions just like the database and auth manager, where our entire app can use it directly. And we're going to say bucket is going to be storage.storage.reference. And let's create some functions on here. So let's say the user wants to upload and download things. So we're going to basically want 3 functions that I could think of from the top of my head. So first one is going to be upload user photo post. And it's going to take an image. And I guess that's all it will take. I guess it'll also take a, so let's actually, instead of taking an image, what it's going to take is it's going to take a user, let's call it a photo post model. Let's create that model, and we're simply going to throw them down here for now. We're going to create these later on, but we really should be using appropriate models. And we're going to say completion is going to return a result. And the result is going to have a URL to the newly uploaded image, or if it fails, it'll have an error. And this whole thing is going to return void. And we also want a function body. And let's see, what is it complaining about? Photo post, function model, photo post. It's saying method cannot be declared public because this isn't public. All right, let's make this public as well. Now we're also gonna want, so actually we can simplify this even more. So upload a user post, and model is just gonna be user post. And what we should do is we should have a post type in here, and this will be user post type. And we're gonna create an enum, and there's gonna be basically photo or video. So we're gonna simplify even more. Additionally, we're gonna want a function on here, which is gonna be download, download image with URL. So this is gonna be a standard download function, and in the completion, it'll once again return a result, a rather download image with, let's call it reference. And the reference will actually be a string, and it's going to return to us a URL to that post that we can load into an image view. Otherwise, an error, like so. So looking good. What else do we want to do? So that I think that's good enough for now. We're going to probably want to extend this, but let's just leave it there. Let's see what's going on over here. So it looks like this finally configured itself. Let's go to the rules and make sure that it all looks good. So allow read and write. If request auth doesn't equal nil or null. So this is good because we don't want someone to be able to upload if they're not authenticated. So that looks good to me. And let's see. So we can say here bucket.child, and the child is going to be the reference. And from here, we can say download URL because we want to get the URL back. Whoops. Download URL. And this returns the URL and an error optionally. And in here, we're going to say guard let URL is URL. Error is nil. Else we're going to return. And if we're successful to get the download URL, we can simply call completion with a success case for result, passing the URL. And in this case, we're going to say completion with failure. And we want to pass in our own error. So how do we pass in our own error? So we're going to create on the storage manager a enum. And this is going to be storage. We'll call this IG storage manager error. And the first one is going to be, let's make this be an error. The first one's going to be failed to download. And we can actually change this in the result to be of our custom type. And now in this failure case, we can simply pass in our custom error like that. And let's see, looks like we have an error somewhere. Not in here, it appears. Oh, we do. What's the error in here? Let's take a look. So we want this enum to be public as well. And let's see, what else do we have going on? Child reference, and looks like escaping closure. So we want this completion to be escaping, so the scope can escape. And I believe we're going to want this one to be escaping as well. So make that escaping too. And that sets us up nicely to start using this storage stuff. So let's see what we've got going on. So the next thing we're going to probably want to start by doing is allowing the user to upload photos and edit their profile. So let's start adding things to this settings view controller, since we're going to have an edit profile over there. So let's open up other, general, and in settings view controller, we're just going to append a couple models. So instead of using the section business, we're simply going to do it like this, just to make it cleaner. Let's try that one more time. Does not look correct to me. It's because we forgot to copy that last bracket. Let's get rid of this. So logout is going to be its own section. Up here, we're going to have one that's going to be something along the lines of edit profile. And we'll take care of that in a second. And then let's see, we're also going to want in here things like terms of service and privacy profile, or privacy policy rather. Privacy policy. We're going to want help and feedback. And we're also going to want some app settings. So it's going to give us warnings about this weak self. We're going to take care of those warnings in just a second. So we're going to have edit profile. We're going to have, let's also actually put it in the same section. Let me copy and paste it here. We're going to have invite friends, and this is going to be save original posts. And let's see, what else? If we hit Command B and simply do a run, we should see now in our settings, once our simulator decides to stop being slow, that we have all those options now. And we're going to obviously be implementing these one by one. So let me go down to the cell here. We're also going to quickly add a cell.accessory type, and this is going to be a disclosure indicator. And let's fix up all these warnings. We're not using the weak self, which is why it is complaining. So here we're going to say self did tap edit profile. And let's go ahead and create these functions as we move along. So one option is you could put these functions in different classes to keep our view controller thin, but that's going to be kind of verbose. So for the purposes of this series, we'll just do it in here, and maybe we'll see how we do on time. I could always go ahead and refactor this later on. So did tap invite friends. Kind of want some friends. Oh, it looks like my Siri decided to turn on there when I said friends. All right, let's put that there. And let's see what's the next one. So self dot did tap save original posts. So this setting is gonna basically be like the one in Instagram where when you post something, if you've gone ahead and filtered it or changed it, it'll save the original to your camera roll in addition to the filtered version. This is going to be self open URL, and it's going to take a type, and we're going to say type is terms. So let's go ahead and create this function. So we're going to make it a little more reusable. So open URL, type is going to be settings URL type, and this will basically be an enum, and I'm going to put it right up here. We'll organize this later. And this is going to be terms, privacy, and help. And we can simply copy and paste this now to all of these. And this one is going to be privacy. And this one's going to be help. And in this guy now, we can say switch on the type. And for terms, we want to do something. For privacy, we want to do something. And for help, we want to do something. And that something will basically be creating a URL. So the URL we're going to create up here is, so we'll actually do a string. We'll say URL string is a string. And in this case, URL string equals something like that. Down here, we're going to say guardlet URL is URL with a string, URL string. Whoops. URL string. I really can't type today, can I? URL string. We're going to return, and then we're going to use the Safari view controller to open up that URL. So we need to import Safari services. And here we can say let VC is SF Safari view controller, SF Safari, there we go, with the URL. And finally, go ahead and hit do present the VC animated true. Now we're gonna want the URLs for the terms privacy and help. So let's go ahead and find them. We're gonna say Instagram terms of service. Let's grab this URL once it loads. Let's go ahead and paste that in right there. Let's come back and search for the privacy policy. And let's paste that one in. Whoops, right there. And the last one is help, and I think that's just their help center. So let's do help. And it says Instagram Help Center, which is simply help.instagram.com. Paste that one in right there. Hit Command B. Should be good to go. We're compiling. Awesome. Looking good. Looking good. And let's see. What else do we want to do in this video? I know we're almost at time, just about. So let's start doing some of these other functions. So did tap save original post. Let's skip that. Invite friends. So we could do a couple of things here. We could import contacts, or we could show a share sheet. So we're going to show a share sheet to invite friends. Edit profile. I think we have another view controller for this. So if we open up in this general, we have edit profile view controller. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to say VC is edit profile view controller. VC.title is edit profile. We're going to say nav VC is UI navigation controller with the root controller of VC. And then we're going to say present nav VC animated true. So that'll present that controller. And let's see, what else do we want to do? So this one down here is taken care of. Let's see, so let's go into this edit profile since we're going to do this one next, I guess. Let's get rid of all of this. We don't really want to add a title. I guess one thing that we might want to do is add a cancel button and add a save button. So let's say navigation item dot right bar button is a UI bar button item. And we're going to create it with a title, which is going to simply be save. Style will be done. Self did tap save. And here we're going to say Objective-C private func did tap save. We're also going to want a did tap cancel like that. And we're going to want to add a cancel button. So go ahead and copy and paste it and be lazy like me. And make this one cancel, make this plain, make this did tap cancel, and make this the left bar button item. Let's also add a background color here, which will be system background, like that. And let's see, what else are we going to want to do in here? We're also going to want a completion handler. And the completion handler, well, I guess we don't really want a completion handler because once we hit save, we can just do the update to the database here. One thing that we are going to want to do is allow the user to change their profile picture. So we're going to create a function, and it's going to be did tap change profile picture. And in here, we're basically going to show a action sheet, and that sheet is going to ask the user if they want to take a picture or select one from the camera roll. So we're going to say action sheet is a UI alert controller with a title. Title will be profile picture. Change profile picture for the message. Style will be an action sheet. And we're going to quickly add some actions to this guy. So UI alert action with a title. We're going to say take photo. Style will be default. Handler will be underscore in. And let me align these once again. I don't know why I have a habit of line breaking all of these. So do that. And go ahead and copy and paste this twice, because we're going to want choose from library. This one will be cancel. Cancel. And for cancel, the handler can be nil. And then finally, we want to present the action sheet. Whoops, let's get rid of this pop-up. And let me fix that. So action sheet, animated true. And once again, for iPad, it'll crash unless you assign the popover presentation controller source view. We'll just say is view. And source rect, we'll say is view.bounds. Hit Command B. And I think we'll probably wrap it up here since we're just about at time, even though I've said that 5 times already. In the next video, we're going to start continuing basically with this UI. We're going to allow the user to edit their profile. We're going to allow the user to hopefully start uploading photos. What you guys have probably noticed is building this stuff is pretty time consuming, so the videos get longer than I planned out originally. So that said, if you haven't destroyed the like button already, make sure to do so. As always, subscribe if you're new and haven't done so I can continue to make these videos. Comment down below with any questions or errors. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.